Yeah, good evening, Muthu. Yeah, so I guess we can start. Good evening, all. I guess you guys can hear my voice. Am I audible? Okay. And can you guys see my slides? Okay. Thank you, Muthu. So, once again, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the fourth session of our problem solving discussion for the course NOC 22 C68 Ground Improvement. This course is currently being tutored by Professor Dilip Kumar Bedia, who is currently working as a head and professor in Department of Civil Engineering. Myself, Rituraj Singh Sujawat, I am Prime Minister's Research Fellow in Department of Earthquake Engineering from IIT Roorkee. So those who have joined today, like for the first time, the basic objective of these sessions, like in this 1 hour, what we are going to do. So basically, we are going to interact with our learners who are currently enrolled in this course. We will be discussing some important concepts which will be required to solve the assignment problems. Also, we will be having some sample questions related to those assignment questions. So it can help you in better solving those questions. And other than those questions, that like apart from sample or assignment questions, if you guys are having any doubt regarding the any part of this NPTEL session, we can discuss about that also. And any other technical or non-technical query related to the course, we can have a discussion about that. So let's start with our today's question and answers. So this week 4 was basically revolving around the 1 second. Yeah. So this week 4 was basically revolving around the rapid impact compaction and the vibro flotation. So we have seen the other densification methods like the vibratory compaction, high impact energy impact compaction, dynamic compaction. So like if you want to densify the soil in between the range or of the depth between the shallow compaction or the deep dynamic compaction, we usually prefer the rapid impact compaction. And if you want to go beyond larger depth like the soil, where we are densifying the soil with the help of deep dynamic compaction, that is beyond the 6 to 12 meter, then we can go for the vibro flotation. So in today's session we are going to discuss about the questions which are basically based on the rapid impact compaction as well as the vibro flotation. So just to have an introduction about the rapid impact compaction, here's one video. So yeah, apart from the deep dynamic compaction, like unlike the deep dynamic compaction where we used to drop the hammer from a certain height to densify the soil at the larger depth, here the basically method is like there will be a steel plate which is connected to the ground, or like we can say it's resting on the ground, and we'll be having a hammer which will be like this can be treated as a hydraulic hammer which can be dropped from a certain height, and it will provide the required potential energy to this steel plate, and this steel plate will further transfer its energy for the densification of the particles. So this energy is basically helping the particles to densify by overcoming the interparticle force between them. So yeah, this is the basic brief overview about the rapid impact compaction. So let's have some questions on the regarding that. So yeah, designing parameters for the rapid impact compaction are, so among these four, which are the design parameters which we basically use to decide whether we should go for rapid impact compaction or not? You guys can post your answer in the chat box and then we can have discussion later. Yeah, so the correct answer is D. So before going for the rapid impact compaction, we basically decide like what should be the depth of improvement if it's lying in the range where we used to go for the rapid impact compaction. For example, we have seen like if the depth for the rapid impact compaction, if the range is from 4 to 6 meter, or like if it's 13 to 20 feet, like we would go for the rapid impact compaction. And also the type of the soil we used to decide before going for that method. Availability of the nearby structure, so uh, whether the compaction method which we are using, whether it's causing impact to the nearby structure. If the structures are very closer in the range which is nearby to the deep dynamic compaction method, so in that case we used to go for the rapid impact compaction. So other methods which we generally see before going for the rapid impact compaction are like geometrical type, we have already seen. We also used to see the depth of groundwater table. We see the weight of the hammer availability in the market, height of the drop, and diameter of steel foot which is available, depth of improvement, pattern and spacing of the impact points. So how we are going to impact the soil, at which points we want to do the densification, which are the critical points. So that is also deciding parameters. The number of blows which are required for compacting the soil, and definitely distance to the existing structures we have already discussed. So any doubt regarding this? Again, if you have any concern with any of the question, you can just unmute yourself, or you can post your query in the chat box also. We can have discussion on that. So coming to the next question, this is an interesting question. So yeah, select the correct statement about rapid compaction. You guys can take time in this because it requires a little bit of thinking. Shreyesh has posted as answer D. C. So we are getting varying answers. D again. Okay. So yeah, let's have a discussion on it. So the correct answer is D. Yes. So like first discuss on like A option, that is it produces greater peak particle velocity than deep dynamic compaction. So with the help of the rapid impact compaction, we are having the greater peak particle velocity as compared to the peak particle velocity which we used to acquire in the deep dynamic compaction method. So anyone want to give reason for this? So Shreyas has posted as answer D, and Tushar also. So why you guys feel that it produces greater peak particle velocity than deep dynamic compaction? Again, it's fine, like there's no compulsion on giving the answer, but if you feel something you can suggest. You can post it in the chat box also. Okay. So yeah, in case of rapid compaction, if we see from this video, so here you can see that the steel plate is always in contact with the ground, unlike the deep dynamic compaction where we used to give the hammer from a certain height and drop it on the ground. So what happened is that, like in this case, since the steel plate is always is in contact with the ground, it can better transfer the vibrations from the hammer to the ground. So that's why, since the steel plate is in contact, so the particles are receiving the greater frequency of the force, or like we can say vibration, as compared to the deep dynamic compaction. So that's why we are having the greater peak particle velocity in case of rapid compaction as compared to the deep dynamic compaction. And second option is like it's having the minimum allowable distance to existing structure is larger than deep compaction. So though the peak particle velocity is greater in case of deep dynamic is in case of rapid compaction, but then also the allowable distance is greater in case of rapid compaction. So why is it so? Because the peak particle velocity is higher, then in this case the allowable distance should be low, right? But why this contradictory statement is happening, like A and B option? Anyone, any thought? Why is it so? Again I repeat, like the peak particle velocity is greater in case of rapid compaction. So since peak particle velocity is greater, so the allowable distance to the existing structure should be small, right? So that it will cause the less damage to the structure. But then also we are providing larger allowable distance in case of rapid compaction as compared to the deep dynamic compaction. So why it's happening like that? Because since the peak particle velocity is more, so allowable distance should be greater, right? Anyone, guys? Am I audible, right? Just confirm it through chat. Okay. Yeah, so any answer? Got it, Miti, got it. So yeah, so basic reason is that though we are having the greater peak particle velocity in case of rapid compaction, but the energy transfer, that is C option, energy per blow is lower than the deep dynamic compaction. So the energy, like for the same weight of hammer, for same drop height, or for same, we can say, the depth of improvement, like scaled energy factor, which we used to say, for example. So scaled energy factor we know is given as root over Wt into height of drop divided by xd. So this is the depth of improvement, weight of the hammer, or the drop height. So for all the same parameter, like for the, if we compare the deep compaction as well as the rapid compaction, the for the same scale energy factor, that is for the deep compaction and the rapid compaction, the energy transfer to the ground will be more in case of the deep dynamic compaction as compared to the rapid compaction. That's why the allowable distance which we are considering in case of deep dynamic compaction is smaller as compared to the rapid compaction. So that's why the answer is D, all of them. Is it clear, guys? Any doubt in this? Okay, so let's move to the next question. So next we are having some questions about the vibro compaction. So vibro compaction, like if you want to go for the depth of improvement even beyond the depth of improvement which we used to consider in the deep dynamic compaction, then we basically go for the vibro compaction method. So here is the method which we used to do. So we insert a probe into the ground which used to provide the lateral densification to the soil particles nearby, and simultaneously we used to do the backfill also for the densification, and it will basically help us in reducing the settlement of the ground as well as increasing the bearing capacity of the soil. Also it used to reduce the permeability of the soil, so we will be having the less generation of the excess pore water pressure. So coming to the questions, so for which type of soil we basically used to go for the vibro compaction method? Yeah, Muthu, we are having the silt also, but like the silt content is very low if we go. So if we want to specify like the broad category of the soil which we are going for the vibro compaction, it's basically the cohesionless soil. Because like we are having the some part of the silt content also, but it's limited to, we can say, the fine content of the soil should be less than 15 to 20%. So but in the broad category, if we see, the soil type should be the cohesionless soil. So in the cohesionless soil, what happen, like while providing the vibration to the soil particles, this vibration will basically help us in overcoming the interparticle force between the soil particles. So this interparticle forces can be compensated through the vibrational energy, and it will further help us in rearranging the soil particles, and which will basically lead to the densification of the soil. So I guess this question is clear with everyone. So for the next question, so in which category our particle size should lie, like the maximum particle should be having this much size if we want to go for the vibro compaction method. So there are different zones which are divided as per the particle size dimension. So this question is related to the previous question only just a quantification came into the picture. So yeah, so the most suitable zone is zone B. So the cohesionless soil which we have discussed in last question. So the soil particles to be the cohesionless, the size in which the particle should lie should be in the zone B range. So yeah, Muthu, you were correct. We are having the silt also, but this silt content, you can see it's having the proportion very low as compared to the cohesionless soil. So but yeah, we do have some silt particles, but the major, like if you want to specify the broad category of the soil, it should be the cohesionless soil. So we are having the zone B. We can even go for the zone A also. So but in zone A, like we are having the gravel particles, we can go for the vibro compaction in zone A, but the penetration of the probe is very difficult because zone A is basically consisting of the gravel or the large boulders. So inserting the probe into the ground with the help of the in the zone A is difficult, but yeah, we can go for that, like with some provisions. And even we can go for the vibro compaction in the zone C also, but again it will take very longer time because the particle size here are very small, so the rearrangements of particles will take a larger duration. So that's why we are not entirely going for the vibro compaction for the zone C particles. So the major category where we are going for the vibro compaction is the zone B. I guess it's clear. Any doubt in this? Fine then. Like, let's proceed to the next question. So next set of questions we are having, like all numerical questions. So this question, okay, yeah, you can try with this thing also. The materials in the dilatory and the fluidized zones, like these are the zone defined in while we are going for the vibrating probe or like vibro compaction method. So the dilatory and fluidized zones around the vibrating prone are used to be in which type of state, whether it's liquid state, plastic state, elastic state, or elastic plastic state. So this is a theory based question. You can give a try, like if you have gone through the lectures. Yeah, so this is a straightforward question. The correct answer is B. We are having the plastic state. So coming to the next set of questions, uh, let's start for the design process. So the question is a newly reclaimed site. It's having 4 meter thick fill, which is mostly silt sand with SPTN number from 5. Like we want to improve that site such that the SPTN value should become 15. The groundwater table location is given, that is at the depth of 1.5 meter. Contractor decided to go for a rapid impact compaction with a hammer weight of 9 ton. The drop height is given as 1.2 meter. Energy requirement for 3 meter thick silty sand is already given as 190 ton meter per meter square. Warehouse location is also given, like it's at distance of 10 meter from the site, like it's the most nearby structure we can say, like from the site under consideration. So in this question basically you need to calculate how much energy is required to improve the 4 meter thick silty sand. So yeah, you can start calculating. So I guess we can solve this. So it's straightforward question, like since the energy is given for the 3 meter thick silty sand, so how much is the energy is required for 4 meter? So you can just do, you can just take a ratio of it and you can get it. So let's solve it. So for 4 meter thick salty sand, energy required is 4 by 3 into 190. So I guess it's 253.33. I guess. How much will be the unit? Ton meter per meter square. Any doubt in this? Anyone? Fine, then we can go for the next question. Like with the same data given in question number 7, assume we are having the square pattern of impact point, like the pattern for which we are giving the blows, it's in square pattern, it's having a spacing of 1.5 meter. What should be the required number of blows? So similar question was solved for the deep dynamic compaction also, I guess. So you can use the same concept to solve this. Okay. I guess everyone have noted the data. Any other answer other than 53? So yeah, so let's solve this. So yeah, the correct answer is 53. So required number of blows. So Andy, we basically know it's the applied energy into area of influence upon Wt into Hd. Yeah. So here A is the applied energy. A small e subscript is basically the influence area, equivalent influence area. Wt we are having as the weight of the hammer, and Hd is the dropping height. So applied energy we know we have calculated earlier, that is 253.3 ton meter per meter square multiply by AE. So since it's a square pattern and spacing is given as 1.5, so we can take square of this. This is meter square. Weight of the hammer is given as 9 tons. Height of drop is also given as 1.2 meter. So I guess let's calculate this. 253.33 into 1.5 square divided by 9 into 1.2. Yeah, so approximately it's coming as 52.77. So we can approximate as 53 blows, which is your required answer. So the same concept which we have used in the deep dynamic compaction for calculating the number of blows, so it's similar in case of rapid compaction also. So because the mechanism to densify the soil is similar, so that's why for calculating the number of blows we can use the same formula which we have used in rapid compaction. So any question in this, any query? Okay, then we can go for the next question. So yeah, for the same data which is given, like you need to calculate the scaled energy factor for rapid impact compaction. Do you want me to show the data again? Okay, so basically you need to calculate the scaled energy factor. You can take data from here. Okay, one answer we are having 0.328, which is option nearby to option B here. So I guess we can solve this. So the correct answer is B, 0.32. So scaled energy factor for any compaction method can be calculated as under root of Wt into Sd divided by Xd. So here Wt is the weight of the hammer, Sd is the drop height, and Xdp is the improvement depth. So weight of hammer is given as 9 ton, Sd is given as 1.2, and Xdp, depth of improvement is given as 10. So you can use the unit. So if you calculate root over 9 into 1.2 is divided by 10. So yeah, so correct answer is 0.32. So this is option B. Yeah. So moving to the last question. Like for the given compaction method, or like for the design parameters which are mentioned in the question, we need to basically calculate the peak particle velocity which it will generate in the case of rapid impact compaction in millimeter per second. So again, if you know the formula, you can solve this. Oh, shares is already calculated that. Any other answer? And also any query in the previous questions which you have solved today? then let's go with this. Yeah, so the correct answer is 34. So if you would have gone through the lectures or the slides for the last week, you know that if the scaled energy factor, that is if root over Wt into Sd upon xdp is less than, sorry, if it's greater than 0.1, so the peak particle velocity is given through the formula 188 root over Wt Sd by x dp की power 1.53, and if the same factor is less than 0.1, then the peak particle velocity is given as 36. Sorry with this. 36 into root over scaled energy factor x dp whole power 0.79. I'm so sorry guys, some technical glitch. 0.79. So yeah, is this factor WTSD is by XDP is basically the scaled energy factor, and we had already calculated that in our previous question, that is 0.32. Since 0.32 is greater than 0.1, so we will go for this formula. So peak particle velocity in mm per second can be calculated as 188 multiplied by, so this factor we already know it's 0.32, की power 1.5. So this 0.32 we have calculated in our previous question, so we can take help of that. So it's basically the correct answer is 34. So yeah, I'm getting 33 point something. Actually this was not exactly 0.32, so let's calculate this exact value. So root over weight of ton is 9, height of drop was 1.2, x dp was given as 10. So if I calculate this 9 into 1.2 divided by 10, answer की power 1.5. Yeah, so I am getting value as 34.25, which can be approximated as 34 mm per second. So yeah, we are having as option C 34 mm per second as a peak particle velocity, which will be required in this design condition. So yeah, this was the final question. So we are over with our question session today. If you are having any query with the questions which we have solved, or like any other query regarding the course or the Bipro compaction or rapid compaction, we can discuss it now, else we can meet in our next week. Thank you Muthu, thank you everyone. Okay, then if you are not having any query, let's call it a day, and let's meet again next Tuesday at 6 p.m. Thank you so much guys once again for attending. Bye.